Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark, Monday, November 27th. It's already almost December somehow. Hope you are all doing well. Clay and I both back from a long adventure to Climate Pledge Arena. How are you doing today, Clay?
Parker, I'm doing great. Happy to be home. Happy that we both witnessed a win. Too bad it was the one win sandwich between two losses. I know we'll get to it, but there is something cool about this is my first experience, unlike you, my first experience cheering on the Canucks in an opposing arena. And maybe it helped that we won 5-1, but I loved it. It was amazing. I loved it.
It is being the enemy is so much fun. We were like, because I went down with a few friends and we went to the Seahawks game the night before. And the Niners fans there, of which it was probably a similar ratio of 49ers fans at the Seahawks game as there was Canucks fans at the Kraken game. And the amount of fun that the 49ers fans were having while we are all just miserable. And it's like, well, I guess we're just going to sit here and have a beer and be sad that our team's losing, to go and be, to be loud when the Canucks score and get excited and get a Go Canucks Go chant going in an opposing stadium. It's a blast. It was an absolutely great time.
And I'm glad to know that the Canucks actually win when you're watching them away once in a while. So that's good.
My history, well, at least from last year, wasn't great. But it's been better in the past. I mean, I've only been to, I think they've won 2 away games I've been to in the past out of like 6. So
it's not brutal, but
not terrible. But now we're up to like 3 of 7. So one more. Now is the good time to go to Edmonton while they're struggling. And then and even it all out.
By the way, is there anything at the arena? I know we'll get into this, but is there anything in the arena that you noticed this time that you didn't notice the last time you were there, or same old to you now?
I don't know. I was in
really nice.
I was in better seats this time. Because the last time we were there, we were upper bowl, kind of in the center, but we were. I don't know. You were sitting in the same corner as I was, just upper bowl. But on the other side, that you could see, that's where all like the owners' boxes and stuff were along the top. We were like above that, like behind that in seats. So we actually could see the catwalk behind all the owners' boxes. So I remember last year we saw Francesco walking down the catwalk. So that was a nice little Easter egg that I knew about. But no, it was nice to be on the lower concourse for this one. And no, it's such a nice rink. It's so cool getting in there and like, it's like, all right, you are at the top. Like you have to go down to get to everything. It's a very, very, very nice arena.
One thing I learned, and I did not know this from the first time I went in the playoffs last year, was the main escalators. I was told by by Kraken season ticket members that the escalators go down only from up to down from before the game and in the first intermission, and then halfway through they switch to going from down to up for the second intermission and after the game as people have to leave. So if you need to get up before the game or in the first intermission, you have to take an elevator. There's no escalator, or you take the stairs, but I obviously had mobility issues. Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
I didn't notice that, but it makes sense because I think I went up the escalators that I went down at the start of the game. Interesting.
There you go. Yeah,
so a little tidbit fun fact.
Yes, there you go.
So that was the highlight the last week for both of us, I'm sure, because the Canucks sort of had a tough one handed to them by Colorado in a game that I think I was a lot harder on them than most people were. And then obviously they beat Seattle, and then there's the game 2 nights ago, Saturday night, against San Jose, which they did find a way to lose. And unfortunately, I missed the third period of that one, which maybe wasn't the worst thing. But we'll chat about those 3. We've got some games to preview here as the Canucks are back at home for, what is it, 6 out of the next 7, something along those lines. 7 out of the next 8. It looks
2 then 1 then 5. I think that's right.
Yeah. So they get the Ducks and Vegas at home, and then they go on the road to Calgary, and they come back for a 5-game homestand before going out to sort of the Midwest for a road trip. So this has to be nice for the Canucks coming up, and again we'll preview all these games, but no back-to-backs for a while. No back-to-backs until December 16th, 17th. So they have this big homestand, and they go on the road and immediately play back-to-back days. And they're both day games too.
Right.
But that's for us to cover in like 2 weeks.
Overall, though, Parker, just before you go into the individual games, we know that them and Seattle, they had played the most games coming in today of any team in the NHL. Yes, 11. Whatever they said, 10 or 11 games in 16. That doesn't sound right. 7 and 11, whatever it was. It seems like a lot.
Yeah. I think it was 11 and 17 or
Okay,
10 and 17, I think maybe.
and that's a lot. And then 3 out and 4 all on the road. You usually get back to backs at home, not away. Not a lot of travel, but there still is travel. So Talkett's been really good about not using it as an excuse, but he's not afraid to point it out either. But then he'll be quick to say every team goes through it at different times in the season. But we've talked about him here that the Canucks, just by virtue of geography, have some of the toughest, if not the toughest, travel in the entire league.
Yeah, and the injuries haven't been helping.
Yeah.
A couple of key guys going out and sort of having to rely on some of those bigger names. And yeah, it's not an excuse per se, but it's a factor. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You look at that game against the Sharks as a big example, right? They come back from, a bit of a weird travel where they have to fly from Vancouver to Denver to Seattle, and then they have to fly from Seattle to San Jose. After this game, by the way, this game ends in Seattle at like 9:45. I don't know if you guys know where. I assume they would fly out of SeaTac, right?
Well, yeah, they must. Yeah,
and that's not close to where the Kraken play. It's Kraken play in like North Seattle. SeaTac is basically in Tacoma. It's south. It's a good 35-minute drive or so.
Yep.
And then they couldn't even fly into San Jose.
What?
There was there's like a noise restriction in the city of San Jose, so you can't fly in past a certain hour. So they had to fly in. I don't remember exactly where they had to fly into. I want to take a look at a map so I can guess. But I remember them saying, I don't remember if they had to fly into like Fremont or something, like some suburb of San Jose, essentially, and then take the bus from there to San Jose.
What?
And they didn't get into their hotel till like 2-3 a.m. is what I heard.
Wow.
So again, it's a thing that teams have to go through, but it's a bit of an extraneous, unfortunate bit of scheduling that if they had played any team other than the Sharks, no one, like, people would have been like, they're on the second night of back-to-back, sort of scheduled loss, yada.
Yeah.
But it's the Sharks. They're like, hey, well, you should find a way to win that anyways. But they had a bit of a tough situation there.
Is flying on the same day a no-go zone, or is it just it's not preferable? So that's why. Because why don't you just sleep in Seattle, get up, and I don't know.
That's a great question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's I don't know. I think it's a routine thing.
Sure.
Guys like to wake up in the city they're playing in.
Good point.
By the way, the Sharks are leading against the Capitals 2-1 right now. So maybe the Sharks are going on a heater.
And the Rangers,
in that game.
Bruins, and Vegas Golden Knights all lost today too. 3 of the top 5 teams in the league. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so again, it's not an excuse. But this, when you take it into context of this team has looked pretty tired lately, like they haven't had that jump, that spark. And they've had it in some games, right? I mean, even their game against the Sharks that they won, they didn't look like they had it, right? It's just, again, they were against the Sharks. And that previous game against the Kraken, the game against the Flames, like the last couple weeks, week and a half or so, they haven't looked great. However, the game against Seattle, they looked really good, especially in the third period, which is when you'd expect them to slow down a little bit. But yeah, it should get a little bit easier. Competition doesn't really, but travel wise, it gets a little bit easier for the next 2.5-3 weeks or so.
Good. Okay. What do you remember about the Colorado game? 5-2.
I remember being frustrated because it was, I mean, you look at it statistically, shots were 29-25 in favor of Vancouver. Analytics, I think expected goals were like 52-48. The deserved to win-o-meter for Money Puck, I think, was like 55-45 in favor of Vancouver. All of it was like, hey, the Canucks most of the time barely win this game. And if you want to look at it from a moral victory perspective, Colorado is a real good team to win, to at least have a toss-up of a game against. But man, it really, I don't know, when I was watching it, something felt off in the way that they played. I felt like they had more in the tank.
Yeah, and it's we can have fun as fans, Hughes versus McCarr or whatever. But yeah, this was a true test against a really, really good team. A team that they're technically ahead of in the standings, but we know Colorado's going to be there all season long. Yeah, and I agree with you about that. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. About feeling off, it didn't feel right for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
I mean, you look at Colorado's like the goals that they score, right?
Mhm.
That first one, that is just a defensive mistake on the penalty
Yep.
kill from Philip Hronik by just
Yep.
standing in the middle of the pass and not actually making a play on either the guy with the puck or the guy the puck's going to.
Yep.
Right? That felt like, a missed opportunity.
Mhm.
The Avs' second goal, again, it's like, oh, it's a shot that was tipped from the point, but it was a minute after that power play goal. Like you shouldn't
Yes.
be on your heels this much. And, you scored with 3.5 minutes to go in the first period. You should go into the first intermission with a lead. You just
Mhm.
should. You shouldn't be trailing with 3.5 minutes to go in the first, allowing 2 goals in 66 seconds.
Yeah.
And then in the third period, you get, after all that, you get into the third period tied. And again, you have a shot from the point that gets tipped just because,
Yeah.
you weren't able to box the guy out in front. You have a big mistake from JT Miller as the last man back, just getting it
Yeah.
poked away by Cale Makar.
Yes.
And then the empty netter, of course, is like right after they pull the goalie. I think Pettersson tried to save it or something and it went off of him. But it was just like, man, you had the chance to be in this game and you just, you had mental lapses and Colorado took advantage when they had to of those chances.
Yeah, that what's his name? Tufty?
Yeah.
That was a weird goal. Like I didn't even see Tufty tip it in. Like what happened there?
Yeah, he must have got a piece of it. Again, even
Yeah.
the replay, you can't see it get tipped. It's a very
Yeah.
weird one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a game where you take a few of those mistakes away. You take that Hronik mistake away and that Miller mistake away, and that's a much different hockey game.
That's too bad. Miller's effort on the game tying goal was great. Remember, he took the pass from Hughes and just went down the side and
Beautiful goal.
muscled off Devon Taves. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, he dropped the shoulder into him, played it off of his own skate,
Yeah.
just a quick release where the goalie's not set.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic goal, and it's just it sucks that 20 minutes of hockey later, he got beat.
Yep. This is a team I think it was. I must have tweeted this when it was 1-0 Canucks or 2-2 because I would never tweet this if the Canucks were losing badly. But I said something like a Canucks Colorado Western Conference final would be awesome. It would be so good.
It would be tough.
Yeah, yeah, and I know
absolutely.
To get there, you got to get through. Yeah, LA's looking to be a juggernaut. Vegas, so it's going to be a dogfight. Just get out of the Pacific. I get that, but I can dream. Can I?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it right now. The Canucks are a pretty comfortable number 3 in the Pacific, right?
Yeah.
You look at they're only 2 points back of Vegas, and Vegas has only won 3 of their last 10.
Yeah,
right. Vegas is, the Canucks are stumbling a little bit. Vegas is on a different level. So yeah, there is a chance to maybe get an overtake of Vegas, but again, I see Vegas as a team that's at the top of the division by the time we get there.
yeah.
And LA is unstoppable right now. They've won 5 straight. They've won 8 of their last 10, 13, 3-3. I mean, they have 3 games in hand on the Canucks and they're tied in the standings. And they've allowed the least goals out of anyone by far.
Yeah.
They've only allowed 47 goals this year.
And this vaunted goal differential that the Canucks built up so well, they only have a 3-goal lead in that category on LA, and LA's got 3 games in hand, so they could easily make up. Even in one night, they could make it up. And not that that's the biggest stat, but still, it's nice to see the Canucks atop the league in that stat as well.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's a real drop off. and I mean, look, the Canucks are like comfortably in a playoff spot, and we'll get to that after we get through these games. But
sure,
let's go back to Seattle.
Okay. Oh yeah, Seattle.
After a really tough night the night before, Thursday, with the Seahawks getting it handed to them by the 49ers, in very sad fashion.
Yeah.
Me and my friends woke up on what was it, Friday, just praying for a Canucks win.
Like, were you hungover too, or no? Not hungover.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit. The Niners scoring the amount of points they did not help with that. So it was, but again, by game time, we're full systems go. We're fired up. We're excited.
Yeah.
And what a start to this game. Canucks take a penalty, and it's Teddy Bluger just, putting the foot on the gas. Really, I mean, he just perfect play to pick off a pass. I don't know who that defenseman was that made that pass, but he was way too slow.
Bad.
Teddy Bluger just burned on the backhand, just beat the goalie to the post, and tucked it in. Looking like the old 53 for a moment there.
And right before that, just about 30 seconds before, I think Dakota Joshua, didn't he had a breakaway? And wasn't that right in front of you? That was right in front of you. Yeah. And Joshua didn't make any move whatsoever. He just he skated straight and just shot it. And wasn't the best effort I've ever seen, but it was nice to see. Joshua is playing well. Bluger's playing well. That whole third line of Bluger, Joshua, and Garland are great, and great start to the game for sure. And it got the Canucks fans in attendance. I know you and I were kind of guesstimating before we went on air. I know some people that I was on the trip with were saying, oh yeah, that was 35, 40, 45% Canucks fans. No, I think it was, as we talked about, 20 to 25%. We were just very loud.
Yeah, the Canucks fans showed up. The ones that were there, especially because I mentioned to you before, like we stuck around after the game for we probably stayed in our seats for a good 10 minutes after the final horn, and like walked down to the ice and took some pictures and all that stuff. And there was a lot of Canucks fans sticking around. Like we were high-fiving guys 10 minutes after the game ended.
That's awesome.
Still at their seats. So yeah, I think it was probably close to 25, but allowed 25.
Cool.
After this Bluger goal is when I tweeted out very smartly, oh, just take more penalties then. If it's going to go that well. That was a mistake because the Canucks did take more penalties. Miller had a tripping penalty. Myers got a double minor for high sticking. How about the Canucks PK though in this game? They were absolutely fantastic.
They were, and maybe Seattle doesn't have the proficiency of a Edmonton or Colorado just in the talent, but yeah, the penalty kill was awesome. And then was it a power play goal that got disallowed by Seattle for the offside? Was it a power play goal?
Yeah, I think it was on the Miller penalty. The first, because it was shortly after the Bluger goal. I actually totally forgot about that. They did have the one, and then we're sort of you get it turned back on you, right? Where you're just sitting there and everyone's standing around you, and you're just sort of hiding. and then I sort of peek up, and it's before anything's announced, but I see the refs are standing at the penalty box with the door open. Yeah. I'm like, what's going on here? And then the ref says it's getting challenged for offside. I'm like, oh, it's coming back then. Like it just is. They're probably not challenging it if it was not obvious.
Correct.
And it did come back, and then it flips. We're all standing up, cheering on the officials as a "Ref, you suck" chant comes through, which was very fun.
Yes, and nice that we did not have to partake in that said chant because we were the beneficiaries. So, what else happened for the first? Maybe I'll wait till the end, but I'll just drop it here. A lot of guys like Drance and others were saying that the Canucks, even in the post game with Tatakit, they were trying to say it was an ugly game or that they were almost lucky to win. I don't know. Maybe I was too happy to be there. I thought the Canucks were fine.
They were decent. I think the third period they turned it on though. I think the first 40 minutes it was very it was a little messy. It was a little a little sloppy here and there, but I don't think they played bad. And then they get to the third period and they just put their foot on the gas and ran away with it.
Yeah. All depth scoring too. All depth guys.
Yeah. So second period, we get this Dakota Joshua goal where the Canucks just set up in the offensive zone. You have guys like Noah Juleson making nice passes, and then Garland just gets a bit of a shot off in the slot. Rebound comes right to Joshua, who scores. Fun story about this one. I think Joshua had a rush into the zone at the beginning of this shift, 15, 20 seconds before they scored this goal. I wonder if it's in the highlight, actually pulling it up. The highlight starts with him behind the net in a battle. So I think he skated in with the puck. And the guy in front of me who we were talking to all night, the guy who got up at the second intermission and went and bought a Joey Decord jersey, all the power to him in the world.
Amazing.
He is like, I hear him go, a little and he gives us a glance as Josh was coming in. I'm like, oh, you don't have to worry about that guy. And that was the guy who scored. So it was perfect.
Love it. Yeah, no, and Yeah, that line is the one line that hasn't been touched, Parker. Like they're bouncing Bavillia all over the place. They're scratching Kuzmenko. Yet the third line that's supposed to be Suter between Garland and Joshua, but he's been hurt, not coming back anytime soon. It's been Bluger, Joshua, and Garland. They've been great.
But it was actually Niels Oman out.
Yes, I saw that.
This goal happened. So he gets the assist, and it was actually the third star of this game, which I thought was great.
Yeah, on a day he signed a 2-year contract. Yeah,
perfect day for him. Kraken get one back. It's Cartier.
Yeah,
just again
a
pretty nothing play in which Mikheyev wins a board battle. Plays it up the wall, or not up the wall. He sort of plays it up the middle as Pettersson's floating towards the wall, and it's out of Pettersson's reach, and it goes right to the Kraken demon at the point. They just come in, take a shot, and it goes in. And I think I tweeted out, you just have to get that out at that time. Because it was just a miss. Like the only goal that they allowed was just a quick missed pass from Mikheyev to Pettersson that ended up just being a perfect play.
What were the Kraken fans around you at this point? Were they, because at that point it's anyone's game. It's only 2-1.
Yeah, they were excited. They felt they were back in it, and again they had the shot advantage, right? I think shots were like 21-18 at that point. Or 21-15, I think it must have been, because the Canucks only had 15 shots through 2 periods. Have you noticed this year, that the shot clock is getting changed a ton throughout the game?
They've made a couple points of that on the broadcast for sure. They've taken
away a lot, because I like to take notes as I'm doing my notes for the game. I write the shots at the end of each period, and it's always wrong now because I just take them off the broadcast. And I'm looking at this highlight when the Kraken scored. The shots were 19-18. But this says the Canucks only had 15 shots through 2 periods. So they took 3 shots away from the Canucks at some point there. And
it's funny when Seattle scores, or maybe I was doing this too when Vancouver scores. So yeah, you're right. The Kraken fans, they stand up beside you, but they don't share it. Then they look at you. They actually turn around and they literally look at you. Yeah, go ahead. And like, what do you want me to do? And then I'm thinking, did I do that when the Canucks? Well, I'll get to this when they're piling on in the third period. My son Jacob, he loved it. He was just having the time of his life. And I almost felt bad, maybe because I was the one sitting next to the Kraken fan, so I was just kind of.
I think it depends. I think you build a little bit of a rapport with the people around you. Because I was of our group before. I was on the inside. I was like the dead middle of the center of the section. Right. So I had my guys on my right, and then I had 2 random people on my left. These 2 were very quiet and reserved, and clearly they weren't that involved. I don't think they were standing with the crowd. They were just there to watch the game.
Sure.
So I never said a word to them, right? Yeah. But the guys in front of us, anytime that we would talk to each other, he would look back and chime in. But he was a very fun guy. It was all in jest.
That's cool.
So in those situations, we're cheering, we're high fiving, and he's giving us crap when they scored the 2 goals they scored, and so I think as long as you're being friendly about it,
truly.
Then it's all a good time.
Yeah, you don't want to end up on one of those videos that get replayed on Barstool or something of a fan getting beat up.
Yeah, maybe in Philly you're second guessing a little bit. But Seattle's okay.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. One other thing I'll say about Seattle fans, and I noticed this at the playoff game too, Parker, back in April or May, is and I don't think we have a lot of Kraken fans here, so I'm not worried that we're going to offend them. You can tell they're a new hockey market still, because even my son Jacob picked up on this. Even a simple play that doesn't look that dangerous, i.e., not even a 3-on-2, an even man rush over the blue line, or a nice cut through the middle. The Seattle fans, they get really excited, and even a pedestrian point shot. I noticed that was it Martin who's in net for us, or Demko? Demko would steer to the corner. They cheer like crazy, like they thought they were going to score. I don't know. To me, it just seems like they're not smart, but they're still a very young hockey market, if that makes sense. That's my observation.
They're not as jaded as we are.
Maybe that's what it is.
No, I noticed that too a bit, right? You have a shot from the half wall. It was and it would go 3 feet wide and go all the way around the boards. But yeah, I mean, they're having fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I noticed that with Melissa. She'll be like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, that was never going in." No, don't worry about it.
That's pretty funny.
So we go to the third period. Again, 2-1 game, really anyone's game, right? And nerves are going a little bit here. And the Canucks decide that they are not going to make this one interesting. They are going to go out there and take to the Kraken. I mean, you look at the shots in the third period ended up being 12-2 in favor of the Canucks. And it starts with a Sam Lafferty goal, just a face-off win. Hughes, far point, Hronek, absolute rocket that Lafferty got a piece of to make it 3-1.
That happened in the corner right in front of you, Parker. I was there too. I didn't see Lafferty tip it initially. Did you? Did you know?
Yeah. No, that was a hard shot. Yeah. It was hard to see everything there. And then a couple minutes later, you have Niels Höglander just going in on a 2-on-1. Great play by Niels Amon, by the way, in his own zone, chipping it out. Höglander just absolutely burns the defender, who's kind of the last man back. Chips it by him, ends up being a 2-on-1. He's with who was he with? He was with Garland, I think. Okay. And Garland doesn't really have, like, Garland's got a guy trailing him and who could get a stick in there. So Höglander just shoots, and it's a great shot, gets it through to make it 4-1. And then very late, as it's essentially over, Canucks, as a power play comes to an end, Mikheyev has the easiest goal of his life, just standing back post. Great pass from Garland through, and he gets a piece of it, make it 5-1.
Yep. And the one thing we forgot to mention too about Höglander, he crushed Brandon Tanev in the neutral zone.
That was that got the crowd, but like the Canucks fans of the crowd, that got people going. Yeah. Great.
Not dirty, but Tanev.
It was hard.
Yeah. Tanev, I was learning from my new Seattle Kraken fan beside me that Tanev had missed the first part of the season. I didn't know any of this with that. And it looks like it's the same left foot that got hurt. So I don't know if he's played since then or if Seattle's even played since then. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
what a hit.
Yeah. How about Demko though? I mean, Demko, very light night, 23-24, if you exclude the goal that went in, but it was offside, so it didn't happen.
Yep.
So yeah, he's been, a bit of a bounce back for him, which was good because not like he's been bad, but he hasn't been as fantastic as he was to start the year. Yeah. So that got him back up to a 925, which is nice.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Because I think he was down in like the high nines, which isn't bad, but he's been very like on off, right? You look at his last 5. He had the game against Seattle, 958. Then that loss to Colorado, he had an 833, right? 4 goals on 24 shots. Then before that, San Jose, 1 goal on 28.
Yeah.
And then before that, Seattle, 4 goals on 26.
Right.
And then before that, it was just a fine, 3 on 33 against the Islanders, that game that they won 2 weeks ago. So he's been a little on and off, but overall, I mean, still a great year so far.
Hindsight's always 20/20, and it's not like DeSmith was brutal against San Jose the next day. He wasn't amazing, but he wasn't brutal. I was slightly surprised they went in that order. I thought, I don't know, maybe you think Seattle's a harder game, so you play Demko, but I don't know. Maybe I think they have enough confidence in DeSmith. I just thought you give Demko the game against San Jose because he never loses to San Jose, and whatchamacallit, his family's from that area. Is that just 2 small things that I thought maybe would weigh the other way, but I don't know.
Yeah, my thought is that they wanted the extra rest to come here for him instead of going, sort of having all those games that he played and then have like a couple nights off, and then he would play the Saturday and then a couple nights off, and then he would play the Tuesday. This way, he sort of continues this role of going, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every 2 days. And then he gets just a 4-day rest, essentially.
That's true.
1 big rest. That would be my guess, at least. And I think they probably did think Seattle's the harder game.
Sure.
And maybe part of the I don't think they think about this at all, but it's a partial home game as well compared to the San Jose game. Like you'll have more fans in attendance, but I don't think they'd take that into account at all.
Right. Fair enough.
But nice for us at the very least.
Yeah. So we're on a good mood. We think that we're the best team. Well, I don't know what you were thinking. I thought they're the best team in the league. And then all is well. We both get home safely on Saturday. And then we watch that debacle.
Yeah. And this one was tough for me because I had my own hockey game at 10.
Oh,
night,
you went back to back.
Yeah, that was a tough one to get out actually get out of bed for at 10 p.m. To go to that game. But this one was tough. this is a frustrating game to watch. Again, San Jose is not good, and genuinely, the Canucks were the better team in this game. DeSmith didn't have a great night. He allows 4 goals on 22 shots. And the Canucks almost brought it back. But yeah, we'll start at the beginning. You have this Emberson.
Yeah, who's that guy?
It's always the people you've never heard of. Ty Emberson, defenseman, born in 2000. Guess how many career goals he now has?
1.
That is correct. And it's just a face-off play. They sort of set up in the offensive zone. They cycle it all the way around, and he just takes a shot through 6 bodies, I would guess. A tough one, and it's a great shot. It's far post. DeSmith doesn't get the arm up. I don't think he figures it's going that far out. It just is inside the post.
It is a good shot.
It is a great shot. And then the Canucks, they get a power play, which is great for the Canucks because they are power play merchants, really, at this point in time. And it is this was a look at and it happened the game before, and we didn't really talk about it yet, but the Kuzmenko-less power play.
Well, that's right.
Where Philip Hronek is filling in on power play 1, which is, it's weird seeing Philip at the bottom of the face-off circle. In this highlight because he's rotating. He's all good.
Yep.
Okay.
It froze a bit. I can still hear you. I see you. Yep. All good.
Excellent. So Canucks just get set up. Hughes, Miller, far one-timer to Hronek, and it just sneaks through. Honestly, didn't look like it was going to go in. It was it looks like he got 5-hole for to make it 1-1. So the Canucks in a very even first period, which is not what you want to see against the Sharks, but it's 1-1, and they're doing okay.
And what was really nice, I think this came about 1:20 into the power play, but the Canucks completely dominated the Sharks during this power play. All 5 guys rotating, keeping it in, one-timers, seam passes, drop passes. Everything was going well, and it just seemed like a matter of time. And that Miller pass to Hronek was from one side to the other side, and that's how confident they are right now. And poor Petey's getting cross-checked into the net as the goal's going in. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, it feels like right now with this Canucks power play, it really feels like if it's going to go well in the first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Like they either control and dominate for a minute and a half on the power play, or they can't enter the zone.
Yeah.
It is one or the other. So if they win the face-off and they get set up, hey, there's gonna be something happening here. But if it gets cleared right away, it's probably not going to work.
Yep.
I think they just need to work on the entry. I think that's something they're struggling with. But either way, second period, you get the Sharks striking first. Honestly, not much happening for like 14 minutes. And then you have this weird goal. All right, so it's essentially Zetterlund sort of sneaks away in the slot, their high slot, I guess. Garland tries to block it, doesn't get there, and it just trickles through. Yeah, just trickles through. So that one hurt. Again, Canucks dominated the period.
Yeah, what I remember about this one, Parker, is they made a big deal on Twitter. Is I think Myers or someone had a chance to clear and they iced it instead, and that's why you had this weird combination of Niels Oman, Connor Garland, and Eli Mikheyev out there, which in theory doesn't make sense because that's 3 different lines. Usually, I get a mixture of 2 different lines out there, but somehow you had those. Oh, maybe they just, I don't know what happened, but in essence, if you watch that replay, because there's no chemistry between Oman, Garland, and Mikheyev, they don't know. They're not used to playing with each other. They don't know who's going where, and that's why I think Zetterlund was so wide open in the middle. It's weird.
Yeah, they had just come off a power play.
That's okay. That makes sense then.
The power play expired 25 seconds before that goal.
There you go.
And they had some time to move around. So that was the mismatch. It looks like Oman and Garland got on. I don't know if they were supposed to be on or whatever, but
sure.
Yeah, Mikheyev was stuck out there.
Sure, that makes sense. Thank you.
Canucks get it back though. 20 seconds to go in the period. Again, on the power play. Always seems to work this way for the Canucks. Just a nice shot by Philip Hronek. Man, he's got an absolute rocket. I love shot, and he's shooting it from the face-off dot, and there's a guy in front of the net. And you see him just like dive out of the way, essentially. Juicy rebound to Brock Besser. He has to reach back for it, but he's just able to slide it in. The goalie doesn't get across. So Besser's got 14, and Canucks are back in it 2-2.
Yeah, and forgive me, you said this. I was just checking something. Did the puck went off the goalie and then off of Miller's shin, right? That's why Miller got that assist. Because Hronek takes a shot.
Oh, I guess.
Right?
I guess so. Miller has assist 1 there.
Yeah, I think goalie made a save, and I think it went off Miller's shin to Besser, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, it was nice.
Yeah, I thought it was earlier in the clip. Yeah, it did. Wow. Yeah, it wasn't actually a juicy rebound. It just went off the pad right into JT, into his legs. And Besser, a quick reaction to reach back and pull it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not the fastest release, but a strong release.
Yeah, and then here's where it gets frustrating. Because it's 2-2. You've been the better team all game. It's 4-on-4 to start the third period.
Yeah,
because there was some roughing at the end of the second.
Yep.
And literally the Sharks win the faceoff back into their own zone. They regroup, and Mikael Granlund starts from his own hash marks and walks through everybody. And Filip Hronek, we've talked a bit about his defensive struggles, especially in that Colorado game, that power play goal that he allowed, essentially. Not great, because the guy was going right at him. I mean, yeah, Hughes could have maybe come in a little bit more, but he was more playing the left side. It was essentially a 1-on-1 at Hronek, and he just burned him. It's that's a tough start.
But it's weird. Like if you're 4-on-4, you usually man up, right? So neither Miller or Besser decided to check him coming out of his own, and then he split Hronek and Hughes, right?
Yeah, he didn't really split Hronek. I mean, he technically did, but the way he did it was go right at Hronek. Hronek misses the poke check.
Okay.
And Granlund just sort of burns him to the inside.
Fair enough. And you know how we always used to joke around about all the Canucks pluggers being a sea of Granlunds? So I heard on the radio today a good one. A guy wrote in and said, instead of the sea of Granlunds, it was Granlund parting the sea kind of thing. Yeah, that's good. Not bad.
And then they get a power play out of all of it. And then they just, it's 4-on-3. It's not something they practice a bunch, I'm sure. But Granlund finds Hoffman in front. Ian Cole is not playing to him at all. But what he is playing is the puck into his own net. Because the rebound comes out and Cole, I guess, tries to lift the stick or knock the puck away and ends up really just shooting it into his own net to make it 4-2.
Yeah, that one sucked because I know Hronek and Miller were with Cole. It was a 3-man. And usually you do a triangle, one up top, two in the bottom. And for some reason, if you watch the replay, both Miller and Hronek end up high. So it creates a 2-on-1 down below. It's not even, it's just a 1-on-1. But Cole was, in essence, the only one back there. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it's not a good setup because even if Granlund doesn't go to Hoffman, who's alone in front of the net, let's say he goes to the other side or to his own side, then he can just either play it. What does Ian Cole do? Does he just lie down and pray that the puck hits him? Because it's either he walks in and is in by himself on the goalie, or he sauces it over to Granlund Hoffman. So even if that puck didn't go there, it's you just can't be 2-on-1. And again, that's if you're gonna have two guys low, Filip Hronek's gonna be one of them, right? It's gonna be Hronek and Cole, not JT Miller. You even see that pass from Eklund up to the point. They're in this triangle. Hronek steps up to Kalen Addison, and he lost his man. And
I agree.
Yeah. For how good Hronek is offensively, he's been struggling defensively. And with how thin the Canucks defense is right now, they need him to be better.
Yeah, you usually don't notice his you notice his mistakes, but they don't in their defensive end so much because they're so good offensively. Hughes and Hronek being amazing on the offensive side. So the more you need those few times we are playing defense or maybe killing penalties, you need him to step up, and he's not doing so just yet. And I know it's early in the season. He's still going to get his fat contract. We still need him because we need someone good on the right side. But yeah, you would love him to clean up those things up a little bit for sure.
Yeah. So Canucks are now down 2, and look, if there's any team they're going to come back down 2 against, with a whole third period against, this is, they're not out of it. And they get one back. They, Rick Tocchet, after the aggressive net pull did not work against Colorado at all. Right. He goes back to it. There are 3.5 minutes left or something along those lines. He pulls the goalie. and it works almost immediately. Pettersson throws it to Miller down low. Miller does that little sort of, where you get the back to the goalie and you just sort of pivot and try to, jam far side. Goes off the toe, goes right to Besser, who, he's not missing from there ever. So he just goes down on one knee, fires it in, and that gives him the NHL lead in goals, and it also brings the Canucks within one. I was not watching at this point though, so I don't know what happened for the last 3 minutes. I was in the car. So if you want to cover the last 3 minutes or so, I'll let you know.
Well, the Canucks, so when Besser scores, there's 3:10 left. So obviously you don't have to pull your goalie for 3:10. You got to within one. You wait till a minute and a half or so. They do so, and San Jose has at least two distinct chances to hit the empty net and put the game out of reach, and they missed both of them. One of them was from their side of center, one of them wasn't, so one icing call in there. And the Canucks basically for the entire 2.5 minutes played their power play one unit: Miller, Besser, Pettersson, Hughes, Hronek, and Sam Lafferty, which I want to get to. That's the question I want to ask you, Parker, in a second. And they get a few chances. They set up a few. San Jose, to their credit, they blocked a lot of shots because at that point you're just piling everyone in the middle and hope that. And they were like eating shots off their arm, their leg, and it was relatively exciting. You felt like the Canucks had a chance, but it was all for naught. So my question to you is assuming you go PB1 +1, should it be Lafferty, or wouldn't you want Mikheyev out there with his hands, or Garland with his hands, or Joshua with a bigger body? I know Lafferty's got speed and he can retrieve pucks for sure, but he doesn't have the best hands. So I don't know if that was the best choice.
Yeah,
that's not why they lost. But
yeah, it's tough not knowing who was on the ice prior to that. Was Höglander not an option?
Exactly. Yeah, he's a great option.
That would have been my pick personally.
Yeah.
But Lafferty's been good. Lafferty also, like Höglander, did have a goal. I'm looking at the wrong game now. Look at the previous game. Either way, though, you would think there might be a different option. I mean, Lafferty played 16 minutes in that game, which is quite high. And Pettersson had to play 24, like by far the most of the forwards. And Hronek and Hughes basically played 30 apiece. I guess that makes sense because Friedman got a 10. But it's you'd think there should be some better options with the amount of power they have. But again, the five that are out there, if even without Lafferty, should be able to score a decent amount of times.
Yeah, that's fair. So I know we both predicted either 2-1 or 1-0-1. Oh, sorry, 1-1-1. We knew the Colorado game would be tough, and then maybe they win or lose one in extra time. But they went 1-2, which is not great. Not great. Especially when San Jose was one of those three teams.
And now the excuses end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you've been, you started off very strong. You hit a stumbling block, right?
Yeah.
The last 2.5 weeks, really, like going back to that Maple Leafs game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about before that was they had that 5-game winning streak. They beat the Oilers 6-2. They shut out the Stars, which is huge, right? That's 3 weeks ago now. Ever since that Maple Leafs game, they've just been, sort of win one, lose one the whole way. Fatigue. It was a very hard stretch, right? And if there was going to be fatigue, that was the time it was going to be at. But now there's no excuse, right? You just had a 2-day rest. The flight back from San Jose is not that long, right? They would have been in their own beds, Sunday morning at the very least. They had Hughes and Hronek didn't skate today. They got the day off. You go home against a very beatable opponent tomorrow. The Ducks, who they've lost 6 in a row, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, they might be hungry, but man, you should be able to absolutely take it to this team because they haven't gotten a save even. Like with I love John Gibson, but 8-2 loss to the Oilers yesterday, 5-2 to the Kings before that, 4-3 to the Habs, 3-1 to the Blues, 8-2 to the Avs. They've been hurting.
They stink.
So you have to, that it's not a must-win game. It's never a must-win game. But if there's going to be a game that you win coming up, especially with you got Vegas on Thursday, this Ducks game is, your best chance you're going to have at a win this week.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the initial decision to bench Kuzmenko, and what did you think of the decision to bench him for a second straight game after a 5-1 loss, but with the absence of fresh legs.
Yeah, 5-1 win.
Oh, sorry, 5-1 win. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I didn't hate the idea. I hated the idea of it because I was there. I was like, oh, we're not getting to see Kuzmenko over here. But I really don't hate the idea of giving a guy a game off to just sort of recoup. And Rick Tockett's earned more than the benefit of the doubt so far, right? So yeah, do what you got to do. I didn't love it on the second night. Again, you win, you keep the same lineup. But I mean, that's pretty arbitrary in my mind. It's like, hey, give yourself the best chance to win each night. Kuzmenko had the rest, right? He hadn't played in 3 days. He could have been a sort of a spark for the other guys who were tired, especially if they did have that tough travel night, right? Like, throw him in there, give him a spark, see if you can get something going. So I didn't love it for the Sharks game, but I was fine with it and that's not just results oriented based on the scores. Like genuinely, that was my reaction as it happened.
I agree with you. In theory, he's going to be motivated. You only need to scratch him one game. And if you are on back-to-back 3 or 4 and you have some tired legs, which I don't know if you know that, but I know hindsight's 20/20, but this is a perfect opportunity where Kuzmenko could have made a difference in this game.
Yeah. I think so, especially even just super situationally, right? Like how nice would it have been to have him out there with the net empty, right? Instead of Sam Lafferty, right? That's a good piece to have.
There you go.
Ducks game Ducks game tomorrow. One they got to win. Vegas on Thursday, and again, we look at the standings, like, wow, that's a pretty even matchup.
It is.
Who saw that coming, right? And they're hurting a bit right now, right? Like we said, they've won 3 of their last 10. They've lost their last 2, including they lost to the Flames today. Maybe not really a good result for the Canucks, especially with that game being a 3-point game, but they lost to the Coyotes on Saturday. They lost to the Flyers last week. They barely beat the Habs 6-5. They got shut out by the Caps a couple weeks ago. Like they're 14-5-3, but so they've lost 8 games. 7 of those losses have been in their last 10. Right. This is a team that started off so hot, and
that's right.
Just like the Canucks, they're coming back down to earth. This should be, if I don't have what the odds are for that game in front of me right now, but I would imagine they're as close to toss up as they can get.
Yeah. These should be 2 really exciting games because even though Anaheim's not the best, it's hockey fights cancer, and there's always a lot of nice stories that emanate from the arena and players and whatever. Do you remember last year? It's not funny, but do you remember last year that Besser was going to get scratched?
That was my Boshford Project game. That was
that's right.
Yeah, that was a big storyline.
And then Joshua somehow got sick that day and he couldn't play, right? And then Besser's in the lineup. Wow.
Yeah. Very weird.
So hockey fights cancer, always a good buzz around the arena. So that's Tuesday, that's tomorrow night. And then forget about the good start. Vegas Golden Knights. It's defending Stanley Cup champions as well. Well, don't forget about it. Add it to it. So it should be 2 pretty cool nights in the arena. And then they bounce off for one in Calgary, right, on Saturday, and then back.
So I'm just looking at odds. For tomorrow's game against Anaheim, the Canucks are -286, the current is -245, which would imply about a 70% odds for the Canucks, which is pretty good. So we'll take that anytime. I don't know about the Golden Knights, but you have to imagine that's going to be a toss up. And then the Flames, who have they've been rolling a little bit, 5-3-2 in their last 10. Not like they're doing fantastic, but they beat Vegas in OT today. They absolutely took it to the Stars on Friday. 7-4, and that's right after they lost to the Preds, right? And then they beat us, a week and a half ago, right? That 5-2 game. So again, a winnable game, and one that I imagine being in Calgary on Hockey Night in Canada, also probably pretty close to a toss-up. Canucks might be minor favorites in that one. So I mean, odds-wise, Canucks probably are favored to win the first one handily, favored to eke out the Flames, and probably a toss-up against Vegas. Very real chance, especially with the rest that they had coming into this, very real chance to get 2 wins here.
Pretty crazy. You take away the Colorado game, Parker, on Wednesday, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The Canucks would have played 8 straight divisional games. That's nuts. That's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Very important, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, Kraken and Sharks aren't as important. I don't think the Kraken are falling out of it a little bit, but
Yeah.
nice that they at least took one of them. Yeah,
Who do we
so
play?
the 3
Kings?
games this week, and then they get another 2-day rest, right? When they come back from Calgary, they get
Nice.
they get the Monday, Tuesday off, or sorry, the Sunday, Monday off. So yeah, the fatigue excuse is off the table now.
Sure. I was just looking. I had to schedule something for work on a Tuesday or Thursday and December. It's actually starting this week. It's 4 straight weeks of Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. Oh
Yeah, they'll play Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday a lot here.
yeah.
Because they did build up, build up a bunch of games, and for some reason the NHL hates Monday night games, which is good for us.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, it should be. Fatigue shouldn't be a factor. If the Canucks can get back to the team that they were before the last 2.5 weeks or so, I mean, like that team going against Vegas, the way that Vegas has been playing, I'd be like, all right, they should win. They should win this game, honestly.
Yeah.
But now I'm more of like 50-50.
Yep.
But it should be a
I'm
fun
going 2-1.
one.
2-1 for the week. 2-1.
I think 2-1 is a good bet. I'm pretty sure they beat Anaheim, and then something weird will happen. They'll beat Vegas and lose to Calgary, which just knowing how things go here, or they'll lose to Anaheim and beat Vegas and Calgary.
Sure.
Something weird like that.
I'll take it as long as it's one more win than loss. Then I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll be very miserable tomorrow though if they lose to Anaheim because I won't
true.
know that they're winning the Vegas and Calgary games.
That's a great point.
Let's just win them all. Win them all. Much easier.
And you got game over tomorrow with Sam.
Yes, Sam and I will do game over tomorrow. I see. It's good. I want to pick the ones that the Canucks are likelier to win. So
don't you have another one too? Because I'm off this week. I don't have any game overs this week.
No, I actually had a weird gap in my my game over calendar.
Oh, I got a bigger gap then. Yeah.
So I think my next one is the Wild game next week on the 7th. Nope.
No,
Tuesday
that's mine.
against the Devils, the 5th.
So the 2 ladies then, well, you're on tomorrow, but the 2 ladies have these 3. That's right. Because it goes Sam, Kaya, Sam, and then it goes you, then me. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
And everyone on Canucks After Dark, why are these guys sorting out their game over schedules in front of us? Because we want you guys to watch us. We want you guys to watch us there too. That's why.
Absolutely. A weird one too. That the game against Calgary is, I guess it is Hockey Night in Canada, but yeah, it's a 7:00 start in Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
bumping an hour late. Yeah.
Yeah. It's late.
That's cool.
8:00.
Yeah.
So yeah, should be a good week. Hopefully we can get a little bounce back. I don't love the 5-5 last 10. And the thing is, the Canucks can do this for a while and be okay, right? Yeah. I'd love to see if you're gonna lose, maybe get some to OT. They really haven't had much. I think only 2 games gone to overtime. 1-1 lost one.
Yeah, we barely get there. We'd be an amazing overtime team. Look at our roster.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the OTLs have not been piling up, but Canucks have been okay. So good chance for bounce back.
Yes, Spartan, thank you for the $2 donation. Are we sure he's a hog and not a goat? He can be both. He can be a goat in the good sense of the word. So thank you, Spartan. And Jaskrin says, I love you guys in Game Over Vancouver. Jaskrin, we love that you love us anywhere that we appear. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should we talk about Pius Suter?
Sure.
So
Not good.
He was supposed to be returning at some point. But now apparently he's had a setback. Not ideal. He, quote, still hasn't skated. Lower body injury. Now no time frame for return. Now,
I hate it when it gets worse. I hate it when the prognosis gets worse.
Yeah, things are supposed to heal usually. Now, this is not the worst case. Like, obviously, like of all the injuries that have happened in the last 2 weeks, this, Suter got hurt as Bluger came back. Niels Oman is coming in, and he's looked pretty good so far. And he's now got a great chance to, earn a spot, not really a spot, but like shine in this opportunity. And then when he gets sent back down, he'll be the number 1 call up once again. So good for him. And I don't think it's obviously a downgrade, but the Canucks bottom 6 has been playing good. Genuinely. It's really been the top level guys that haven't been producing that much, right? Like Elias Pettersson and, JT's still putting up points, but Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Mikheyev, Beauvillier really haven't done anything lately. So Suter Suter setback means Oman gets more playing time, which isn't the biggest downgrade in the world. And especially with those Myers and Friedman injuries that we temporarily had, and neither of them missed a game last week, but and obviously with Susi out, right? Those are the ones that are scary. The defense is much more fragile than the forward group.
Yes. By the way, did you see when the Batch tweeted out the lines, the pairings? It says Cole.McCord. So it looks like Cole McCord. Yeah, that's kind of funny. The having Suter hurt, it stinks from a standpoint. I think there's only one game because Blueger started the season hurt, and then Suter got hurt. I think they only overlapped for 1 or 2 games. I know it wasn't a lot, so we haven't really been seeing the strength down the middle that we were lauding for all offseason. PD, Miller, Suter, and Blueger. And we're lucky that Lafferty filled in for a bit. We're lucky that we have Neil Zaman. But I've even heard people, Parker, talk about when Suter comes back, bump him to the second C, and then put the 649, the Lotta line back together. And then you could run PD/Miller, Suter, Blueger, and then Lafferty/Oman. And I know that's really beefing up your top 6 though.
Yeah, and you can use that as a spark, I think.
Sure.
I mean, if we're still having these troubles with, Kuzmenko and Mikheyev not producing as much here and Beauvillier still not doing much, if some of these things aren't rectified by the time Suter does come back, then we have some problems in general. And maybe you do have to go to that well. And you have guys like, PDG, who's at least I didn't see the lineups today, but he was out of it.
Correct. He was the time. Odd man out. He was. Yeah.
He
comes out because Kuzmenko comes in. Yeah.
So
we'll see.
What a start he had to the season, but it just hasn't really been there lately.
Dropped off a little bit. For sure. Should we do 5 minutes of questions before we wrap up?
Sure. Let's
All right. Ask some questions, everyone. Oh, I don't know if we want to start with this one, but he gave money, so we should probably.
We'll acknowledge the $2. Thank you, Spartan.
Good catch. This is your show. Yeah.
I mean, it's
there's no point.
It's so obviously not real. I don't think we need to acknowledge it.
But thank you, Spartan.
Thank you for the $2. I do appreciate it. And Peter sort of alluding to what you were just mentioning. Would you guys shake up the top 6, especially to get the PD line going? That line's been struggling and Patterson refuses to shoot the puck. And if so, what would you guys personally do? Yeah, and they kind of have done this just by virtue of Kuzmenko coming out of the lineup. Where would you go with that top 6 then? You mentioned the Lotta line. Are you committing to something like that, or is that only if Suter were to come back?
I would love to see. I wouldn't mind seeing Besser with PD. So I would try a Mikheyev, PD, Besser, a Miller, Kuzmenko. Although I don't think I've ever seen Miller and Kuzmenko play together. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Or would you just swap
Kuzmenko were that pair, right? If you want to keep the pairs together, right, and you keep PD Kuzmenko together and you keep Miller Besser together, then you can start to do something. But man, I'm like, who do I want with Patterson and Kuzmenko?
Hoglander.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, the thing that scares me is Hoglander has done so well in the role he's in right now that I'm scared that bumping him up, he might, maybe that doesn't fit as well. However, for a game or two, let's run it, right? He's been very, very good. And then, your second line, you put Mikheyev, Miller, Besser. That might be interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. And then, I wouldn't. Yeah, and then I guess you go Garland. Yeah, then the bottom 6 is the same guy. Oh no, Hogland is in. So then that means Beauvillier,
Garland, Lafferty, Oman, fill in the blanks, Blueger.
Joshua, and Joshua, PDG. Yeah, if I was to shake up the top 6, you're right. You're right about the pairs, Miller, Besser, PD, Kuzmenko. So maybe the only thing you can do is, and I'd be fine with this, is try PD, Kuzi, Hoglander, and then Mikheyev, Miller, Besser.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that at all.
Okay. All right.
A
lot of questions about Ethan Bear, Parker. I know he's been skating in Kelowna. I know he doesn't have a contract. I know the Canucks got to try and free up money, but you have a bit of money in Susi and LTIR. What do you think is going to happen? Is he coming back to the Canucks?
Yeah, latest from Patrick Johnston was yesterday on Ethan Bear.
Okay.
And he says that Ethan Bear is aiming for a late December return from shoulder surgery. Not necessarily to the Canucks. It doesn't specify that. But it does specify late December return, which is a month away.
Yep.
And that really, they might have Susie back by then, like maybe. Like that's at the I think it was at 6 to 8 weeks. That was about a week and a half ago. So that would be like right around the start of that of Susie's sort of time frame to return. And I never trust that 6 to 8 week stuff. I saw it with Suter. It doesn't seem to happen all the time. So sign me up. This team needs defensive depth. They have once you get through that top 6, it falls off a cliff, right? And now you start to have, it's not terrible, but I don't need to see Noah Juleson anymore. Genuinely. Hirose's been okay, but he's not the answer. And Cole McWard is not the answer. Ethan Bear is better than all 3 of those players.
Yes. Yeah.
And guess what? You're going to have more injuries. Right?
Yes.
There's going to be a game where you have 2 defensemen out, and you're going to have maybe Ethan Bear and Noah Juleson, and it's going to hurt, but it's not going to hurt as much.
Yeah.
They have, they can make it work. Make it work. It's a free defenseman who wants to play for you seemingly.
Yes.
And would be an upgrade over Noah Juleson. I mean, man, look at how bleak this would be without Mark Friedman even. Get these guys and take shots on them. And you get a Friedman who does better than you expect. Great. That helps, make up for a guy like Juleson not being as good. If you can't bring Ethan Bear back in and he's back to his full self, great. So all for it.
On paper, it looks really good. Hughes, Hronek, Susie, Myers, Cole, Bear. That's a pretty good. It's not amazing, but that's a pretty good blue line for sure.
It's at least average.
Yep.
And that's all. Look, this team's got a top 10 offense, a top 10 goaltending tandem. Average defense is good enough to be a good team. Maybe not a contender, right? Defense wins championships. This team probably doesn't have it. However, it's definitely a 100-point team for sure on paper.
Isn't it funny how after the 6 we just mentioned, including Bear, then you go vroom, then there's Friedman, then you go vroom, and then there's maybe McCord, Juleson, Hirose.
Yeah.
And Irwin's not even, you can't even find Irwin. And then as we talked about, and Wolanin, who we both like, we want to see him, but who knows when that's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. He seems to have not been really the top consideration for that spot. So if they can add a free player, especially, you don't need any more up front really. Cause guys start getting injured. You bring guys like Oman and you're experiencing a drop off, but not a huge one and not really a game changer. Right. Cause these are guys that can do their job, but that defensive drop off is enormous.
I know. Great point about the drop off. Not as pronounced in the forwards because there's double of them. There's 12 forwards versus 6. And anyone basically from your 11th guy down to your 15th guy are kind of play the same roles, and you can hide them. You can play them 6, 7.
Yeah, they can play 7 minutes a night.
Yeah,
right.
But defense, you got to play at least 10 or 12.
Yeah. Otherwise, you have Hughes and Hronek playing 29 minutes, and that's not sustainable for a whole season.
Never.
Would you rather have Phil Kessel or Ethan Bear? Which one's actually helping the team more? It's Ethan Bear by a mile.
Yes.
It's who you're replacing comes in just as much as what you're adding.
Yeah, you got it. Well, maybe that'll be our Christmas present, Ethan Bear.
That would be a lovely Christmas present. All right, folks, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you very much for joining on this lovely Monday night. We got 3 Canucks games this week. Hopefully they go well. Clay, any parting words this week?
Well, Parker is glad to share the same city as you on Friday night, even though we didn't get to hang out, but we saw Canucks win. And I just think it's going to be a good buzz around the arena these next 2 nights with the 2 games, as I mentioned. So good time for the Canucks to get on track. But we talk about, Canucks being off track, and there's still 7 games over 500. So I will take it 22 games in the season. Yeah. Hey, if you told me, hey, they'd be 14-7-1 or whatever they are. Yeah. That's what they are. Yeah. That's fine by me. Even it's been a bit of a weird path to get there, but like we said at the beginning of the year, when they were winning, I was like, hey, keep this up as long as you can and build up that buffer. Because the Athletic even remember at before this sort of poor stretch, the Canucks were 94% chance to make the playoffs. Yeah. After this whole sort of win some, lose some stretch for the last 2.5 weeks, they're still 95%. They're still the model still is getting 104 points. Yeah, they went up because
because you look at Edmonton falling further and further into the gutter. The Flames fell further and further.
Right, and we're 2 weeks closer to the end of the season. I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
The Minnesota Wild have fallen off a cliff, and they fire their coach. So a bunch of different things.
A lot of cliffs.
A lot of cliffs to fall off of, and hopefully the Canucks are not joining that party. Thank you all very much. If you missed any part of the show, you can rewind back to the beginning or find it on your favorite podcast platform in a matter of moments. Make sure you're subscribed, hit like, subscribe on your podcast platform of choice as well, and we'll see you next week.